This is the story of a fat young boy trying to deal by himself in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. So I did mention right at the start that sometimes we get thrown into these super absurd situations, and this wasn't any different. The only difference is that I was 16 years old. Now this happened on a school trip. At my school it was tradition that the grade 11s went on a week-long hike. This hike took place along the beautiful garden route and is called the Outeniqua Trail.
Located close to the garden route town of George, the Outeniqua Nature Reserve is about a 5-hour drive from Cape Town. Spanning 38,000 hectares, the reserve encompasses the mountain ranges that fall between the coast and the semi-arid Klein Karoo. The name Outeniqua is believed to mean those who bear honey and is ascribed to the San and Khoi people who once inhabited the mountains. The Outeniqua Trail covers a distance of 105 kilometers and impresses with its beautiful Knysna forest and their numerous bubbling streams cascading through glades of tree ferns and the Cape Fynbos that the trail traverses along the mountain ridges.
One thing I have to tell you is that when I was 16, I was fat, heavily overweight, and I was heavily unfit. So going on a week-long hike, carrying all of my belongings, didn't seem like my idea of a good time. Oh, and also I was stuck with the class bullies in my group, which wasn't great either. But that's okay, whatever. I had some of my really good friends around me, so that was cool. Just so you know, at that time I didn't have an iPhone. Did they even exist then? I didn't have a camera, so there are no photos to show you. Now, if you've watched my whale trail story, the hike is built up the same way in that you move from one place to the next. I was not keen on this hike. I was really upset that I had to go, but everyone kept saying, no, everyone's loved it so far, it's gonna be so great, it's so amazing, it's so beautiful, and you really bond. Yeah, right. I don't even want to go into details. All I'm gonna say is that by the end of day 2, I was dead. I remember lying in bed. My friend Sipokazi was lying on the bunk bed below. We were lying there and couldn't move. We were so spaced out and so limp. It was crazy. And it didn't help that this other boy who was sleeping in our room, in his sleep, started to sing, my milkshake brings other boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours, damn right, it's better than yours. Literally what happened. Oh my gosh. Anyway, the next morning, I believe this was day 3, I woke up and my body was so sore, but everybody was in pain. But also I realized that I had caught a cold or something. I was feverish, I was shivering, I struggled breathing, my nose was runny. I had the whole shebang. Naturally, Julian at the time thought that this was the perfect opportunity to ask for a transport home. No, there's no way we can drive you home, Julian, but what we will organize for you is for someone to drive you to the next accommodation. Now, this wasn't the house we were gonna hike to that day because no car could actually drive there. It was the one after that. So basically what had to happen was that I would be driven there, I could rest, but I'd spend the night all by myself. Now imagine a 16-year-old fat boy who's a bit of a diva, who has absolutely no inkling with nature whatsoever, spending a night alone in a cabin, in the woods, in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. And I knew everyone thought I was faking it, but I really wasn't. I really felt horrible. And I wasn't so happy at the prospect of going there by myself, but I still thought, well, it's better than going there with a teacher. So a ranger came, picked me up and drove me to that house. There I was, by myself. I must say, it was really beautiful. It was this cabin which bordered on a forest, and when you sat on the porch, you had this beautiful view over the mountains. And I wasn't completely alone, because there was a dog. I have no idea where this dog came from, but he was there and he kept me company, so I felt a little bit protected. I really loved being by myself. I brought my notepad with me, so I just started writing some poetry because I loved creative writing. Wow, no wonder everyone hated me. But here's where the dilemma came in. Naturally, each cabin was equipped with a toilet. We had to carry our own toilet paper. Now, the toilet was not in the cabin, it was a little extra house about 50 meters away. Already something I hate, having to leave a house to go to the toilet in the wilderness. Obviously, I'm going to die. Now there was a problem. The toilet was locked. I hadn't been given the key to open up the bathrooms. And as you might know, my public peeing performance anxiety also counts for trees and plants and possible predators that are hiding in the bushes. So I had to get into this toilet. Now, luckily, it wasn't one of those doors that is built into a wall. So it was open on top. There was a decent bit of space between door and ceiling, but it was quite high. So in order for me to go to the toilet, I would have to climb over this door. Okay, challenge accepted. All I needed was something to step on, something high, because there was no way I could really pull myself up. I had no muscles and was weak. So I looked around. There were no chairs or anything like that. But what I did find was one of those huge black trash cans. So I dragged that trash can to the toilet house. I climbed onto it and then really clumsily maneuvered myself over the door and nearly broke my legs and my arms dropping down. But I'd made it into the toilet area. But guess what? I'd forgotten the toilet paper. Really, I could have cried. So there were separate stalls with toilets, and I just thought, okay, let me try my luck. Maybe there's some toilet paper left. And I couldn't believe the chances that in the very last stall, there was an entire roll of toilet paper. So I went and did my business, but then I realized I got in, but how the hell am I going to get out? There was nothing I could stand on, and it wasn't like I could drag the toilet there. There was a window though, a high window. The window was above the toilet. It was big enough for me to fit through. Again, I was like, okay, this is going to be how I die. Thank you. I then maneuvered myself through the window, sort of hung onto it, and then just let myself drop down. That was fine. It wasn't something I could climb into from the other side though, because that side of the house was much steeper as it was built on a slope. So whenever I wanted to use the toilet, I'd have to get onto the trash can, climb over the door, do my business, then climb through the window and jump down. All the while still being sick and feeling like shit. So I really had to be sure. There was no way I was going to do 2 trips in a row. That night I was lying in bed, feeling a little bit lonely, scared out of my wits, because obviously all the animals were coming to eat me. And guess what? I had that sensation of, I need the toilet. And you know when you're in bed and you get that feeling, you can't fall asleep. So in the middle of the night, I got up with my torch and I did the whole shebang in the dark. Trash, door, toilet, window, drop. I felt so badass after that though. Eventually I fell asleep. I rested the next morning, eventually got up, climbed into the toilet. All of a sudden I hear something, and it is someone unlocking the door. It was a ranger just checking if everything was okay. And I hadn't bothered locking my toilet stall. So when he came in and he saw me, that poor guy got the biggest fright of his life. I just felt really embarrassed. So I had to explain to him the whole story, but I must say I was so happy that the door was finally open now. A few hours later, the rest of my group arrived and everyone was actually really nice. I think I even earned some respect from the bullies because I did that shit on my own. Like, I survived by myself and I think they were impressed. My teachers, I remember, were a bundle of nerves. I mean, they were just so happy I was alive. So everything was fine and I was able to continue with the hike the next day. And the next few days were actually totally cool. That's it from me for today. I'm checking out. See you tomorrow.